doing? My name's Alex, and I like to build and race cars. So I usually have Japanese cars. I usually have Infinitis, Nissans, Toyotas, etc., etc. Also some BMWs and Mercedes, stuff like that. Never owned an American car, just simply because I didn't have a very high opinion of them. And right now there really isn't too much from Japan that I like that is stick shift, rear wheel drive. And there's nothing really from Europe that's rear wheel drive manual that I like either. I got this thing to build, and I want to do every possible modification you could do to a car. My last few cars have all been around the same mentality where you want to have everything. You want to have speed, you want to have handling, you want to have comfort, and you want to have amenities, right? So that was the goal with this. So what I've gone ahead and done, I've already bought the stuff. So I got rims, I got shocks, I got, coilovers to be exact. I got control arms, I got sway bars, I got upgraded drive shaft, and I got something to make it go a little bit faster, just a little bit. But you're gonna have to stay tuned to find out. But the first thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna take you around the block and just show you what it's like to drive a Mustang. And it's a lot funner than I thought it was gonna be. So let's do it. So it's a fun car. I'll definitely say this. My biggest, the thing I grew up making fun of American car owners was basically that, oh yeah, we go fast straight, make a lot of noise, but as soon as that corner comes, you gotta slow right down. That was the joke I used to make. I think they've upped their game. I honestly think this is pretty fun to drive. Missed the gear. And we're at 65. Hear that roar! America! You gotta love that roar of the V8. Haven't owned a V8 on a street car ever. Only owned V8 in my race cars, and I'll tell you what, see the smile? I get it. And now we're gonna see what this car is like on the track. What we're gonna do today is we're gonna test this thing out and set a lap time at Streets of Willow, and we're gonna try to get the best possible time we can in stock form. Hi, welcome back. We finished our track day at Willow Springs Raceway, and which was Streets of Willow clockwise. And I've learned a few things. I definitely had a fun time, but however, the performance of myself, not the car, but myself, definitely let me down quite a bit. So I looked up some of the track times that were set with my vehicle or similar vehicles, and it's kind of all over the place, but I'm going to go with the one that has the best video evidence, which is the Motor Trend head-to-head from a 2015 S550 Mustang, which is Randy Pop's. 1 minute 24 seconds. Unfortunately, I'm nowhere near that. So what I ended up getting, my best track time was 1 minute 31.89. So 1 minute and 31 seconds. Well, 1 minute 32. On average, my average track time is 1 minute 32 flat, consistently. So kind of disappointed in that. For some of you who don't know racing very well, the difference between 31 seconds and 24 seconds is almost half a lap. So if him and me were on the racetrack at the same time with the same vehicle in the same series, he probably would have lapped me after 2 or 3 laps. 1 second is like, I'm not sure the exact number, but I think it's like 200 or 300 meters. So it's quite a big gap. So huge difference. After reviewing some of my footage and reviewing his footage, like I said, the #1 failure was me. I raced normally for probably about 10 years, but then I got into drifting and I've been focusing on drifting ever since. So it's been a long time since I've been driving competitively straight around a racetrack. I can tell a few things I made a mistake on is I was not flooring it as much as I should be, and I did get a little scared on the crest. It's kind of hard to see in the video, but you have a big bank turn, and then you come out of it, you go second, third, fourth, and then you go into a crest and then to a snake, like a back and forth. I got scared, and I think I was braking down to like 79 when he was going about 93 through that. So I went 111 into that straightaway, chicane, and midway I was already 80 while he held it at 93. And then cleaning up a lot of the turns, like exiting the straightaway, I was never ever able to get a clean turn around there. So that's #1. So the improvements that I need to focus on right now before I modify the car are racing line. Racing line? Yeah, I know the spelling's not right. Racing line, so that's #1. #2 is going to be on brake control. Now, unfortunately, I have to relearn how I brake with this vehicle. As I said earlier in the video, all the brakes are in the front. It's like I would feel, I have to look up the exact numbers, but I feel like 85% of the brake is in the front and like barely anything in the back, 15%. Would that be 15? Yeah, 15%. So what ends up happening, specifically in that straightaway coming into that bend, is every time I would hit the brakes, it would load up so much that the rear end would lift up in the air. All the vehicles I've raced in my entire career have been 60-40 split or 50-50 split when it comes to brake sizing and brake bite. So I'm very attuned to a vehicle that when you hit the brakes, all the car, it doesn't load the front up as much. That's the advantage of having a 60-40 or a 50-50 braking setup, is when you hit the brakes, it's even and then you go into it. So I'm used to last minute braking and going into it, which is a mistake for this vehicle because if you do last minute braking, as I said before, it loads up the front and lifts the rear. So what you want to do with this vehicle, as I'm seeing and reviewing some of the video footage, is you want to still do last minute braking, but you want to get it into it gradually. So brake control, I definitely have to relearn how I do brake control. Those are probably the two most important things I have to improve upon. Now there is another thing which I'm not going to use as an excuse. Again, I'm going to blame myself, number one, for the lack of the huge difference. The second thing is I did have a little bit too much fun with the line lock feature that these vehicles come with. There's a feature that you can go in the menu and then basically lock the fronts and do a burnout. I did that fairly a few times, so by the time I arrived at the racetrack, my tires were already at like 330, 230 seconds. And I am running the factory tire, which is the Pilot Michelin Super Sport 4S tire. Oh, I should probably put that tire, Michelin 4S. So I know I'm not spelling it right, but you get the idea. So Michelin 4S is the tire I ran, but that again, like I said, I blame myself. And then, yeah, so my tire was mostly bald, just so you understand why that's a problem, because you're going to say, well, I mean, you had some tread left. That is true. However, let's paint a picture. This is a head-on view, so this is the tire, and you're looking that way. Here's the rim. So this is a brand new tire. Manufacturers will always use the softest rubber here. So this is soft rubber. And then as you get closer, this is the layers. This is what keeps the shape of the tire. So there's a steel radial layers, and then there's nylon layers. That's what keeps the tire shape. Obviously, if it wasn't without these layers, when you fill up the tire, it would just turn into a balloon. So these what keeps the whole tire in that tire shape. As you get closer to that, the rubber is a little bit harder, just to slow down wear so you don't get into the layers, because the rubber that's in here between the layers is a much more harder, sturdier rubber, while the soft, malleable track time leather, rubber, is up top here. So that definitely contributed. So the biggest failure on my part would be having fresh tires. Besides, obviously, practice makes perfect. So definitely the thing we have to focus on now, because this time is essentially almost nullified now. Tires are the biggest thing that will affect performance on a lap. Second to, race experience, of course, that's number one by all means. But so what I want to get into is I want to sort of get some 18s on there and get some full racing slicks on there and get a fresh set every time we go out to the track, and always keep it consistent with the same exact slick every single time, so we know that, okay, we have the best tire possible on this vehicle, and then every time we do a modification on the vehicle, then we can know exactly how much performance is increasing. I'll get some personal track time back in and I'll film that. But anyways, moving on, besides the terrible track time, I was consistent, so that was my best. My average was 1 minute 32 flat, actually. So my deviation was 0 to 0.15. So that's microseconds. So I was pretty consistent. So, I mean, I do have a lot of race experience, so I can be consistent, but still, huge failure on my part. So moving on. So what are we going to do next? So one is tires. That's a big thing. Obviously, we're going to keep the rims, the factory rims. I'm not going to be reusing those later on. So we're going to keep the factory rims, the factory 4S. So with that, it'll also give us a baseline. So what we can do is we can see, okay, if this person never wants to change his factory rims, we can see what all those parts do to the vehicle. So I will be in the future doing laps with the factory rims and tires and my upgraded, my racing slicks as well, so you can see the two differences. Because there are some suspension modifications that don't benefit unless you have good tires. So another example, which I've seen on other videos, is Mighty Car Mods did a good tires versus coilovers, and they found out that good tires was superior to doing coilovers, because essentially if your suspension's good but you can't grab onto the ground, there's no point, right? So that's another good example. So next thing we're going to be doing is, besides rims, is we're probably going to be doing sway bars. So we're just going to see the effects of sway bars. So once we've got a track day under our belts with the tire setup that I'm going to be putting on. We're going to be, the next up is sway bars. Now, what I've chosen is BMR. My research found that BMR, from what I've seen, has a lot of experience with the Mustang crowd, so we're going to try those. I've ordered both the adjustable links and the sway bars themselves, and what we're going to be doing is after, and again, this is after the next track day, which is going to be focusing on tires. We're going to be focusing on adjusting sway bars and seeing how much of a difference it'll do, and actually explaining how we got our best track time. So we're going to keep on adjusting the sway bars throughout the entire day, and then seeing how good we can get, because that's a good thing about the BMR. You have 3 hooks for the sway bar itself to change how stiff you want it to be, and then you also have the adjustable arms, sway bar links, sorry. So we're just going to focus on adjustment on the sway bar. That's number 1. I would say this channel is more of a lifestyle channel than it is just dedicated to one thing, as like racing or something like that. But basically how I live my life is basically surrounded by cars. So if you like that, tell me what you would like to see, if there's anything I missed on here or anything I can improve. This is my first full-length video I've done in many, many years. So if you guys have any input or anything like that, or anything you'd like to see, let me know if you like it. Please, it is very important to the channel and for me to know. You know, put a like on the bottom if you like it, and put a comment if you didn't, and you know, subscribe please if you want to see more. I really appreciate it. Anything you have to say, let me know. I hope you guys like this, you guys and girls like this, and thank you for watching. I really appreciate it, and have a good day.